Welcome to Components of Differentiation, Part 2. So far, you've reviewed readiness, profile, and interest. Now that you understand how to differentiate, let's turn to look at what to differentiate. Content is the input of teaching and learning. It's what we teach and what we want our students to learn. There are two ways to think about differentiating content. You can adapt what you teach and want students to learn, or you can adapt how you give students access to what you need them to learn and master. In general, you have standards that determine the depth and complexity of what you teach, so often you adapt access to the content to match students' needs, not what you teach. When you differentiate content according to student readiness, you adapt how a student accesses the information in ways that match their readiness. For example, when you introduce a new concept in class, you may have students that grasp it immediately and are able to move into the application of the concept. For other students, they need more time and practice. For those students, you could do mini lessons with students based on their level of support needed to build them up where you need them to be. When you differentiate content for profile, make sure that students can access content in ways that match their proven approach to learning. This may include accommodations according to their IEP or adaptations based on learning style. For example, some students need visual and auditory links to learning during a lecture. Another student may need to read material to themselves, while another may need a demonstration. Differentiating content for interest involves adding to or extending the curriculum based on student interests. This might include student selections for reading materials or menus to explore content. The important thing to remember about differentiating content is to plan to challenge all students. Plan for the highest, most challenging level first, then adjust for individual students. When students encounter new ideas, information, or skills, they must have time to run this input through their own filters of meaning. This is also known as the learning process. Think about process as the sense-making activities. It's what students work through to progress from a current point of understanding to a more complex level. Differentiated processes allow students to make something in a range of modes, at varying degrees of complexity, and in varied time spans with various levels of support. Differentiating process according to readiness means matching the complexity of a task, materials, and support to a student's current readiness in understanding, skill, and knowledge. Some strategies for differentiating process for readiness include tiered assignments, peer support, additional wait time, and resources in a student's native language. Differentiating process according to profile generally means encouraging students to make sense of an idea in a way of learning that works best for them. For example, a student may explore a mathematical pattern through movement or drawing, decide to work on a project alone or with a partner, or to stand while working versus sitting. Additional strategies for differentiating process for profile include manipulatives, varied prompts and tasks, interactive journals, and competitive learning options. Differentiating process according to interest centers around giving students choices. The overall content learning doesn't change, but the way a student addresses it may. For example, a high school government unit examines how the U.S. Constitution has evolved over time. Students will have choices on how to explore those changes to the Constitution. Through the lens of different groups, including gender, age, and different racial and ethnic groups of their choosing. Other strategies for differentiating process for interest include anchor activities, independent studies, and let's make a deal options. The product is usually done at the end of a lesson or unit and is a demonstration of proficiency of the foundational learning. In many cases, the product is the easiest to differentiate. For readiness, profile, and interest, A menu of options allows students to navigate possibilities. To differentiate product according to readiness, you could provide a model for students to gain a more concrete understanding or more frequent check-ins during product curation. To differentiate product according to profile, you could provide guidance in the mode of expression. One student may write a narrative, while another records their ideas in Flipgrid. Additional strategies to differentiate product according to profile could be working alone or with a team, or different modes of approach to a topic, either creative or analytical. Differentiating product according to interest gives students options on modes of exploration. This might include student choice with internet research, interviews, or watching videos on a diverse range of topics, and with the goal of gaining access to the content. Other options to differentiate product according to interest include student-generated criteria for success and modes of product production. Hopefully, you've gained some insight on what you can differentiate for your students. The strategies suggested are not an exhaustive list. If you heard strategies that you aren't sure about, don't worry. Later in the course, you'll be able to explore these in more detail. The key to differentiation is knowing your students well to meet their needs. I'm sure you took some great notes. Now let's check for understanding.